Alright, today we're going to be meal prepping chicken pastor fajitas with rice and beans. First, we're going to start with the beans because they always take the longest. They're going to take about an hour and a half or so. First, you want to get the strainer, put all of your beans in there. I put about 2 cups of beans in there because my family will eat them, but you should make about 1. Just rinse them out and make sure there's no dirt on them. Sometimes beans come with dirt on them, so you just rinse them out. Once you've done that, pour all of the beans into the pot, set the heat to high until it starts boiling. Put the lid on with a little crack so that it doesn't boil over and start spilling water. Now, once you've started that and it starts boiling, you want to put some garlic, whole cloves. You don't have to chop anything up yet. Just throw a bunch in. I use 3 of these like pre-peeled bags because they're just really handy. Just put as much as you want. Now we're going to start prepping some of the other stuff. So we're going to start by chopping some garlic. Try to chop it pretty fine because you want that garlic to kind of disappear. You don't want a big chunk of garlic, unlike the beans that we're making. Now with the onions, you want to do the same thing. Cut it in half. Cut it pretty small as you can without taking an excessive amount of time. You also want to get some cilantro and some green onion, and you're going to want to wash those out first to make sure there's no dirt on them. You can chop them pretty small or pretty big. It doesn't really matter. Just make sure that the stems of the cilantro is taken out because nobody likes eating just a big stem. Alright, so I have 4 chicken breasts from Costco, just some organic chicken breasts, and what we're going to do is we're going to cube them. So you want to cut them lengthwise, probably like 5 or 6 cuts. Then you want to cut widthwise 5 to 6 times. Make sure to be careful while chopping because you may get salmonella if you cut yourself like I did.
I'm getting salmonella. I'm getting salmonella. Great.
Alright, now that you've chopped all of your chicken, you can put the chicken into a pretty big bowl. We're going to start mixing some spices in. We're going to be using salt, black pepper, paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, and a little bit of tajin. Now, I don't have tajin, I just have this stuff, but it's basically the same. The first thing you do is you add some salt. I just felt it out, it felt like about a tablespoon. Second thing, you want to add some black pepper. I know the bottle is different, but I ran out of the other bottle. Third, you want to put paprika. Make sure you coat the entire thing with paprika. Garlic powder and onion powder, you just want to put enough to cover it, but not too much. You don't want to get it too much. And for the tajin, put as much or as little as you want. And now mix it all together and make sure everything has the seasoning on all sides. Now the last thing you want is this ground California chili. This is what really makes it very tasty. You have to put a lot. I actually didn't put enough and later I had to add some, but that's okay. Just make sure to put a lot because it really brings out the flavor. Now we have this little cheat sheet, okay? If you go to any meat market, you'll see this pastor. It's the best stuff. It's already pre-marinated and it's really good. So you add that. It's about 2 parts chicken, 1 part pastor, and it just really adds to that flavor. You want to mix it around, make sure that all of the pieces are mixed so that you can't even really tell whether it's pastor or chicken that you're looking at. With the seasonings, they should look about the same. Now to cook it, I use avocado oil because you can cook it at a high heat and it doesn't smoke, and also it's a little better for you than just plain olive oil. Make sure that you don't put too much chicken because chicken has a lot of water and you don't want it to boil, you want it to fry. You want it to get a good sear on both sides so that it can have this nice char flavor. Once it's seared, you can flip it. Make sure to flip everything. You want to sear every side and just let it cook for a little bit, probably around 5 minutes. Then you can add some onion. You want to make sure you add plenty of onions so that it has a good enough flavor. And once we cook it down, the onion will almost not even feel like it's there. It'll just have the flavor. About 5 minutes later, you can add the garlic because you don't want it to burn, and you can add cilantro and green onion. Now, a lot of people use cilantro and green onion as just the top of a taco, but I like putting it into the meat because it actually takes the flavor out of the cilantro and puts it into the meat. You can't really taste it, but the flavor and smell is there and it makes it smell so good. Make sure you get a nice and big bowl. Make sure you take all of the chicken out so that it doesn't burn when you put the second batch in. Now it took me 3 batches to make this. It may take you more or it may take you less, but make sure you don't put too much chicken on each batch. You always want to make sure that there's not any boiling, it's more searing. On the second half, when you start adding onions, it'll start boiling and that's fine. Now that you're done cooking the chicken, we can start with the rice. I'm making 1.5 cups of rice. That may be a little bit too much for you guys, but that's because my family likes eating rice and I'm just making it for me and my family. So first you want to add some avocado oil and then you want to add 1.5 cups of rice. Once it's been mixed around, it'll start getting a little bit charred, and that's okay. That's what you want. You want it to be fried a little bit. After you start seeing some of the rice being fried, you can go ahead and add your garlic and onion and make sure that you don't burn the garlic. You always do not want to burn the garlic because that will take taste horrible. Now to make this rice, we're gonna be using this tomato chicken broth, and really it just gives that Spanish rice flavor. Now I messed up, I didn't go to the store and get a new one, so I actually ran out and I had to substitute it with regular chicken broth, which means mine didn't taste as good. If you put as much tomato chicken stock as I put regular chicken stock, then it'll come out really good. Now I made 1.5 cups of rice, so you always want to put double that amount with water, so I put 3 cups of water. And after you add the water, you can go ahead and add the seasoning. Really what you're looking for is a specific orange color that's a little bit lighter than the red on the actual package of the tomato broth. Obviously mine couldn't be that color because I used the regular broth, which is just kind of a yellow color, so yours should be darker than mine. Once you've added it, wait for it to boil and then put a lid on it and just let it cook for a while. Usually it's around 10 minutes on medium-low heat. By now your beans should be done. You could go ahead and take them out with a perforated spoon so that you don't get too much juice. You don't want it to be super liquid. Now you can get a masher and just mash your beans. This part may take a while depending on how much you're willing to mash them and how soft you want your beans. Now I'm getting the chicken so that we can make the actual meal prep meals. Obviously there's a big hole because my family decided that dinner was my meal prep. So I'm actually only making 3 meals because they ate all of it. But you should get around 6 to 7 meals out of this. And there you go. You can put about 1/3 be meat, 1/3 be rice, and 1/3 be beans, and there you go. Now you've made a really delicious meal prep meal of chicken pastor fajita with rice and beans. All you have left is put a lid on it and put it in the fridge. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope it came out as good as mine did. My entire family loved it, and I had to keep it away from them because they wouldn't have left me with any meal preps left. Hope you enjoyed, and maybe I'll come back and do another one later.